Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. Yeah, you know what it is. Hard worker, scrappy, unfiltered, and sometimes unhinged football content. Hard to explain, but you know it when you see it. Doing it daily our way. I don't know what you're talking about right now. Redraft and Dynasty Fantasy Football, we got you covered. You know their defense is ranked like 31st in the NFL? NFL draft prospects and rookies? Now you know you in the right place for that.
Absolutely.
All right, then stop saying it. Then we're done. And prop bets with my man JRich. Count that money, man. Now wipe the crust out of your eyes. Get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake your ass up with Ray G. You honestly are making absolutely no sense and you sound silly as hell. Let's get it, baby. Run it up, run it up, run it up, run it up. GMGP. What's cracking with y'all? It is Monday, February 19, 2024. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with Ray G. And you know I appreciate you being in the building. The music's playing. I'm feeling good. It's bright and sunny out here in Dallas, Texas. And I got my fam in the damn building. What's happening with you, Josh Rosen? Good morning to you, my friend. How you doing? Who else we got in the building? Zach in the building. What's up, man? I love these type of shows. Yes, sir. We're going to give it to you hot. Texas in every way. Shout out to LES Barbecue. If you know, you know. Marlon, what's happening with you? Smid Shot, Toronto, Dave, Cold World TDE, Garrison in the building, Jimbo in the building, Leo Scott, the Swap Fantasy Football. We got the crew in the building. I'm excited. We got a mock draft. PFF dropped one yesterday. JRich and I are going to discuss it. If you missed any of the content that's been on the channel, make sure you go check out the videos. Dropped a top 5 rookie RB video using Underdog's ADP over like 49,000 drafts. I got a top 5, top 10, top 20 rookies. I went ahead and discussed it using the big board ADP, so check that out on the channel. And also, Scott Connor dropped a new Destination Dynasty on the channel, on the podcast feed earlier this morning, so make sure you check that out. What else we got going on, Jay? I think that's about all y'all missed. I did a mock draft reviewing Damian Parsons' 2024 NFL mock draft from the Draft Network. Tap into that, but it's fully into draft season right now. I'm feeling good, Jay. EA Sports announced that NCAA 25 is coming back, and Shedeur Sanders, JRich. If you didn't know why I was wearing this Mojo shirt this morning, Jay, Shedeur Sanders fed families over on Mojo. He bought old GQ, the Apple Vision Pro. Shedeur is the reason why the new studio was created. A lot of money was made off of Shedeur Sanders, but apparently highest rated quarterback in the new NCAA game. JRich, bringing you in the building. How you doing this morning, baby?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's a good weekend. I don't know if anyone watched the NBA All-Star Weekend, but I heard that it had its ups and downs. I did not. I had better things to do.
You didn't watch any of it? You didn't watch any of it?
I had the game on the second screen yesterday, but I did not watch. First of all, I forgot about Friday. Completely. Didn't even know what was going on. And I don't know if it was my timeline, my sphere type of thing, where I just didn't see a lot of advertising for it. Didn't see a lot of people talking about it. Maybe a me issue, maybe an advertising issue. But then Saturday came, 3-point dunk contest, Sabrina versus Steph, which I did see a lot of.
That was dope.
But then
that was dope.
That was cool. I watched that. That was cool.
Cool.
The contest, Dame won it. Obviously, that was cool. And then I watched a bit of the game, but the game seemed awful. Like, it was on the second screen, terrible. And I wasn't tuning in that much, but it seemed like it was. So I don't know if you knew when they got rid of like the Kobe rule thing. Like, that was kind of cool. But it seems like they only did that for like 2 or 3 years, where they had the score objective thing and it was sort of competitive. And now that's gone.
Yeah, it went back to like a traditional format. Wasn't good. The dunk did you see Jaylen Brown's dunk? I wish we had time to pull up some of Jaylen Brown's dunks. I mean,
what dunks?
Yeah, he had no business. He had no business.
Rim grazing, as they say in 2K.
He had no business in the dunk contest. It's watered down, man. They're not playing any defense. It's just kind of whack. But neither
first
here,
team score 200 points.
Exactly.
Outrageous.
Neither here nor there. We got a lot of football to talk about. Jay, 2024, the NFL draft right around the corner. We got Combine coming up in a couple of weeks. Yeah. A lot of takes out there. Old GQ ruffled some feathers last week.
Did you?
I ruffled some feathers, man. People.
Oh, no. What did you do?
Here's my thing, man. I put a tweet out that pretty much just stated that it's interesting to see the rise of J.J. McCarthy amongst all these draft people now. And it seemed like, and I'm not saying nobody's putting in the work, but it seemed like after the report, and I'm using air quotes for those of y'all not watching, the reports that he was going to be drafted a lot higher than people think gave
From his
other
head
people
coach,
the
right?
confidence to say, okay, now I can do it, right? Now that somebody said that a quote-unquote source tied close to the NFL, whatever the hell that means, Jay, that he's going to be drafted higher than not, gave a lot of people confidence. And I said, man, seems like we excuse away his lack of production, but we had some cats last year who also weren't very productive, and we didn't want to make excuses for those players. So seemed to rub some people the wrong way, but neither here nor there. I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just stating the facts. That's all I'm doing. I ain't here for drama. I'm here for the bag. I'm not here for drama. I'm here for the bag. I just find it very funny. That we're at this point in the season, Jay. But this mock that we're looking at, what do we got? 2 rounds? 2 rounds?
Yeah.
And I want to get through it.
Yeah.
I want to have some conversation. So let's pull up the board, holler at us in the chat, let us know what's going down. Wake up, fam, and let's talk about it, Jay. Let's pull up the board. We've got this PFF mock. Who did this mock? Was this Sycamore? Was this my guy, Trevor?
Yeah, it was Trevor Sycamore from PFF, lead NFL draft analyst over at PFF. This is from last week, so it was his post-Super Bowl mock draft. Hoping to get one today, but unfortunately, Trev doing other things. But they did drop actually a mock draft on their podcast feed and the show they did with the NFL crew. So if you want to check that out. But this is Trevor's mock, just his. And we like this one, 2 rounds, and as well because there's some trades in there.
Yeah.
So for some of you who are watching, you may see a trade at number 2, and we will get to that. But Ray, do you want to kick this thing off with Caleb Williams, because he was drafted by the Chicago Bears at 101. The reports seem to be overwhelming at this point that Justin Fields is on his way out. I haven't checked the odds recently, but if I recall, over the weekend, there was a lot of reports that Pittsburgh was the favorite to land Justin Fields. Now Trevor has a different story in here, but how would you feel, Ray, about Justin Fields in Pittsburgh before we get to the mock? Because
I don't want to get to that. Let's get to that. We're in the mock. We'll get to Pittsburgh later. Caleb Williams, 101, foregone conclusion. It's going to be Caleb. It's not going to be Maye. It's not Daniels. There's no trade up for somebody else. The Bears are on the clock. They've got 2 picks inside the top 10. You take the best quarterback available in this class. You draft Caleb Williams unless you get a Bryce Young type offer for that pick. I'm not moving back
more than that this year
for a pick. I want more. If I'm moving off of Caleb Williams, I want Bryce Young levels of return for that pick. So Caleb at 1, not a surprise. But the first shock off of the board is what happens at number 2. The Washington Commanders are slated to pick right here at number 2 overall. But in this mock, the Commanders traded out of this 2 spot with the Denver Broncos, who currently do not have a quarterback. Russ probably going to be cut. They're not going into the season with Jarrett Stidham. I do not believe that at all, JRich. So in this deal, the Commanders get the 12th overall pick. They also get a 2025 first-round pick and a 2025 second-round pick, plus a 26 first. So 2 first, a second, and this current first for this second pick. And they select Drake Maye out of North Carolina, whom, Jay, I'll just say, there's a lot of people discounting Drake Maye right now. He's going to be the father, the Malik Willis of this class.
Really?
I'm seeing it, dog. And here's my thing. He's not, for fantasy football purposes, we're talking fantasy football, he's not my QB2. But it's not like he's QB3 by some large gap. I just prefer Jayden Daniels a little more than Drake Maye. And from an NFL standpoint, I don't really got that. I don't have concerns about Maye. I don't know where it's coming from, Jay, but a lot of people tend to think this is the quarterback from this class that could slide, a la Will Levis, a la Malik Willis, whatever you want to call it. Are you feeling that? How do you like this trade? What are your thoughts on Drake Maye and the community vibes that he's the quarterback that's going to slide?
So the vibes that he's going to slide is surprising, right? Because I think if I was going to compare him from a success standpoint in the NFL, he has to kind of go that Justin Herbert route, right? Be a guy who bombs it deep, great deep ball, great in the intermediate, obviously can hit the short throws as well, can hit all 3 levels, but I think we'd expect Drake Maye to have a bit more of a rushing floor at times in the NFL because of what we've seen in college. Now, we know that Herbert can move, but he didn't rely on his legs too much. And I think we could see more of that with Harbaugh as his coach, but Maye does have a higher rushing floor, at least so it seems. And then you look to see what he did in college, and he can hit all the throws. So you think if you're looking from a ceiling type of comp, you go to that Justin Herbert route. That's how he's going to win from a fantasy perspective. But from an NFL perspective, he should be right at the top of the board. A QB who can make the reads, mobile in the pocket, and can make all the throws. you have the concerns about Jayden Daniels potentially from an NFL standpoint, maybe compared to Maye, but at the same time, both are great quarterbacks, and whoever you want to choose, I'm fine with either one, but both should be right at the top of the board, and there's no way you should be taking a J.J. McCarthy over a Drake Maye or a Jayden Daniels, in my opinion. Now, maybe you have that thought, and you want to have that confidence. Now, the only thing that surprised me is the compensation. 3 firsts and a second is a lot for the second-round pick. That's the compensation I would expect to get Caleb Williams. So to see Drake Maye going for that compensation does seem a little bit bold, but maybe that's what it's going to take to move up to 2. And I think that tells you exactly how much teams are valuing Drake Maye right now. And I think they should, because he could be a franchise quarterback for the Washington Commanders. And in this case, it's Denver Broncos. And I would love the fit with Sean Payton, because I love the fit with Sean Payton, because Sean Payton does like to use mobility at times for his quarterbacks, and we've seen that in the past. I think that he would be a massive upgrade to Russell Wilson and could fit into that offense quickly. Now, you did hit on Russ not being there. There is reports that maybe there could be some restructuring with his contract, and he could be back, even if it is unlikely. So, again, but the thing is, if I am Sean Payton, I'm not going to 2. I'm paying whatever it takes
to go to 1.
To get to 1.
Yeah.
Because that's his guy. He's been on pods talking about Caleb Williams for years.
Yeah.
When he's a coach or not a coach. If I was to go up, it would be to 1, but maybe that's not attainable for them. But I love Drake Maye in that Denver Broncos offense.
All right, Jay, let's move down the board in this mock. Number 3 overall, the New England Patriots select Jayden Daniels, quarterback from LSU, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. We know what he brings to the table, right? The most efficient passing season in college football history from an efficiency standpoint in 2023, wins the Heisman Trophy, dual threat capabilities, starter from a true freshman season at Arizona State, just continue to get better and better once he got out of that toxic environment. And the New England Patriots, when you think about the division, the conference that they're in, the AFC it's just a beast regardless when you've got to deal with Mahomes and Burrow and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. But then inside the AFC East, you got Tua in that offense. You got Josh Allen and you got that Jets defense. You better. Here's the thing. You need to have a dynamic, game-changing type quarterback to hang around in the AFC East. If you don't have that guy, I don't see a world in which you're going to compete. Now, this New England Patriots team, there's a lot of holes everywhere. Jayden Daniels,
yep.
This is the spot that for me personally, Jay, I know you're a Pats fan. I'm terrified because they don't have weapons. If Kendrick Bourne is the team's wide receiver 1 next year coming off of an ACL tear, I like Pop Douglas. Hunter Henry is fine. Ramondre's cool, but this feels like a very, very tough rebuild in New England. And I don't think a Jayden Daniels or a Drake Maye or even a Caleb Williams for that part, Jay, is going to completely remake this franchise. This is a multi-step, multi-year process for the New England Patriots, but I do like Jayden Daniels here as the pick. I'm not taking, as much as I want to take Marvin Harrison Jr., you've got to go quarterback. You've got to go quarterback. And when you look ahead to 2025, Jay, there are like no certainties right now, quarterback. You got a lot of guys. You got Shador. You got Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, a couple of other cats that could rise to the top of the class, Drew Allar. But there's no clear cut. That's the guy we're waiting for in 2025. Get your QB now. Jayden Daniels is the pick. Got anything to say about that one?
No, I mean, you spoke on it. Toxic environments, no better fit than the New England Patriots when you're talking about toxic environments. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. And the only point I would have made was that 2025 class. And while we could see a J.J. McCarthy go high, a Bo Nix go high, even a Michael Penix to some degree go higher than people expect, because all of these quarterbacks, for better or worse, are probably better than what's coming out in 2025. And so if you are trying to rebuild, you have to get your quarterback now, or you may be looking all the way to 2026. And so while I don't love it for the Patriots, because I think they could use other pieces like you mentioned, if you want to get a quarterback now, see what Jayden can do with nothing, and then you go and get him the help in the following seasons. I think you hit the nail on the head. But we can move down to number 4 because we have another fantasy relevant player, the most often mocked pick, probably besides Caleb Williams at 1. Yeah. We have Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State to Arizona, playing with Kyler Murray. This is kind of the fit that we always envisioned, even last season when they had Houston's pick and their own pick. Ultimately, Houston's pick is way far down the board.
How bad did they feel about that? They thought that joint was going to be top 5 again, that they were going to have 2 top 5 picks, and Houston
We said
yeah,
it, right?
My beer. Yeah,
worst trade in NFL history. Yeah, you look at what the Bears did in the Bryce Young trade, and now you obviously have the same thing for now the Arizona Cardinals, except much different results. But Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Arizona Cardinals, much needed, right? Whether they bring Hollywood Brown back or not, Marv will be the wide receiver 1, probably a top 5 fantasy player right now, and the number 1 player, Ray, on KTC, ahead of Caleb Williams in Superflex rookie rankings right now. Love the fit in the offense.
People are scared of quarterback. They don't want to dive down those waters, so they just go safe. And Marvin Harrison Jr. is a great prospect.
Great fit though in Arizona.
It's a phenomenal fit. I think it works well with Hollywood. It works well with Trey McBride. It works well with Michael Wilson as the opposite, the flanker on the other side of Marvin Harrison, who would play the X. Let's move down the board, and this is a pick that I think they're going to trade it. I don't care. I know we keep mocking.
Okay.
I think they're going to move out of this pick. The LA Chargers select Rome Odunze, wide receiver out of Washington. 5 straight offensive fantasy relevant players off of the damn board, Jay. If this happens, I mean, fantasy football fans are going to go, woo! It's just going to be crazy, baby. It's going to be crazy to have these guys come off the board inside the top 10. Rome Odunze out of Washington, pairing up with Justin Herbert. I think Harbaugh's trading down. I think this is a prime trade down spot for another team that's wide receiver hungry to come up. And then potentially, we don't know how they feel about a J.J. McCarthy, about a Penix, a Bo Nix. I think this is a trade down spot for L.A. As bad as I want them to select a wide receiver, you still got Keenan Allen. Listen, they spent the first round pick on Quentin Johnston last year. I know it wasn't Harbaugh. I know it wasn't this regime. You've got Mike Williams. Go find some free agents. Build. There's a lot of holes. This team's got to fill defense. They probably need some O-line help. They've got to find another rusher. So I don't think Rome Odunze at 5 overall or Brock Bowers changes life in L.A. But that's just my opinion. I think they trade down a little bit. And interesting to see Rome being picked as the wide receiver 2 over the guy in LSU, Malik Nabers. Let's move down the board a little bit. The Giants, I think this is a good call. I know a lot of people are pegging a receiver in to the Giants. They failed with the Evan Neal experiment, and I don't care what receivers you have outside. That offensive line is a mess. We don't know what's happening with Saquon Barkley. You better protect the damn guy that you have, whether that's Daniel Jones or a quarterback of the future. I like them taking Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. You move down the board, another offensive tackle that I thought could potentially slide down to Dallas, but J.C. Latham, the big tackle out of Alabama, going to Tennessee, that Brian Callahan offense, helping protect Will Levis. See if they got anything in the second-year player. They got to figure out if they have somebody or if they need to shop in 2025 for a free agent or for a quarterback in the NFL draft come 2025. This is a pick, especially since Raheem Morris took over, knowing what he had to work with in some of his previous stops. Dallas Turner, the edge out of Alabama, going to the Atlanta Falcons. Jay, the Falcons, I believe over the last 3 years, are dead last in the NFL in sacks. So getting an edge rusher that can affect the quarterback in a division, man, is very winnable. This is a very winnable division. Go get some damn pressure on the quarterback. Dallas Turner to Atlanta makes a ton of sense. I mean, if this happens, dude, talk about Ryan Poles and the freaking job that the Bears would have, like, just right now, just stop Chicago's draft. Because at number 9 overall, after selecting Caleb Williams, number 1 overall, they get, in my opinion, some people have him as the wide receiver 1 in this class. I don't have him there, but if Marv is 1 capital A, then Malik Nabers is like 1. It looks like a capital A, but it may be a lowercase a, but it's right there. It's just a different font. Malik Nabers out of LSU to Chicago. Jay, I mean, I saw a comp this weekend from my man Keith Sanchez from the Draft Network, and he said, all I see when I turn on the Malik Nabers tape is number 89 that played for the Carolina Panthers, Steve Smith. And I was like, holy crap, that's an awesome comparison.
Scary,
I can definitely see that. But you pair Malik Nabers up with DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, and listen, the rushing game of Khalil Herbert and Roshan Johnson, good enough to absorb carries in the NFL. They spent a first-round pick on Darnell Wright, the tackle out of Tennessee last year. I love this. I mean, Malik Nabers in Chicago with Caleb Williams. How you fearing? Jay, you didn't like the Fields to DJ Moore combination last year. You hated it.
I didn't
think it'd be top 10, top 15, top 20. You were dead wrong on that. How would you feel about the Caleb Williams to DJ Moore and Malik Nabers pairing for fantasy football?
I think it's exciting, right? You talk about not just one, but two weapons in this offense with Caleb Williams. You know, I still think it's fair to say maybe the jury's still out on Caleb. Can he do it behind this offensive line that's still trying to figure things out? And could, you know, if one of those tackles did slip at 9 would be a great pick for them. But getting Nabers and having DJ Moore and in theory, Caleb Williams being, you know, the next big quarterback, that would be phenomenal for the Bears. How does it work in Chicago? Is their offense going to finally get things going with a new OC? Eberflus still commanding the defense. I think it should be much better. I think the division, though, is strong with the Packers and the Lions, right? And then even the Vikings, if they retool under a new quarterback or back with Kirk, we'll see. But all those teams are formidable. You talk about difficult defenses and difficult teams to play against. The Bears got to figure this out. But if they get Caleb Williams, they get Malik Nabers, they're doing things right, at least from a fantasy perspective, and we can see if they can put it together on the field to win actual games. But I think, you know, they're hitting the nail on the head. They're knocking it out of the park. I think they're making great selections overall if they did get Caleb Williams and Malik Nabers. But how do you feel about Nabers over Odunze? Because you kind of talked about it, but you didn't really talk about it. You're not there.
I'm not there. No, I'm not there. I'm not there. Yeah. I can't do it, couldn't do it, won't do it. I'm taking Malik Nabers over Rome Odunze. 1 million infinity times out of 1 billion infinity times. I'm taking Malik Nabers every single time.
Now, what is it for you that's the difference?
I just think he's a better player. I just think he's a little bit better than Rome. I think he's more explosive. He's just as physical at the catch point. His run after the catch ability is a little more than Rome Odunze. I think he's more explosive. Hands are solid. I think he's a more diverse. He's got a more robust route tree. I just think he's a better player. And that's no slight to Rome Odunze, who I also think is a phenomenal wide receiver. But you're asking me, would I take him over Malik Nabers? The answer is unequivocally no. J.J. McCarthy, number 10 off of the board. The trade down with the Denver Broncos. Here goes J.J. McCarthy right here. So they made a trade up with the Jets, who were picking here at the 10 spot, to snag their quarterback of the future. Michigan's hottest quarterback in the world, J.J. McCarthy, is now a Washington Commander. The Commanders got this pick and the 24th third-round pick from the Jets. The Jets moved back to 12, and then they picked up an additional second-round pick. So the Jets said, nobody really on the board that we have to have right here. We know you want a quarterback. Give us an additional second, and we'll move back a couple of picks. J.J. McCarthy in Washington with Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury does what for you, Jay?
Nothing, honestly, right? I think we all know what Cliff is, and we don't know if he's going to be a good OC in the NFL.
Does nothing for you?
So,
come on.
I mean, Ray, we've been saying this for years, right?
I like J.J. McCarthy. Let me just say that. I like him. I like J.J. McCarthy.
So the question is can Cliff Kingsbury be a good offensive coordinator in the NFL? Because we've seen what he did on offense. I still believe that Kyler Murray is a great quarterback, but we never really saw him be that top tier, let's say top 7-ish quarterback in the NFL. And part of it might have been the scheme and style to which they played in Arizona. It was all shotgun. And especially when you look now, the Bills, especially this season, they made the transition from going almost exclusively shotgun. Josh Allen was like 70% shotgun. They never ran the ball, to going under center and running the ball. And it made a drastic difference to how they play in the NFL. One of the reasons I love McCarthy is of all the quarterbacks in the class, he is the one who played under center, can run play action, and can do all the things you need to do to run a pro-style offense. So from that standpoint, he's very ready for the NFL. And so you compare him to every other quarterback, he's by far the most ready in that regard. But does that mean that Cliff is going to play that way?
Everyone is saying, is he an upgrade over Hal? Is this even an upgrade over Hal? Get my guy Terry McLaurin out of Washington.
If they play a pro-style offense that can fit what J.J. McCarthy does well, then yes. But if they just try and sit back in shotgun, why are you really making this move? The only reason why I like this move, honestly, is because at 11, you have the Vikings, who we know want a quarterback. So this is a great spot for the Jets because they're ahead of the Vikings right now. And if the Vikings don't trade up, there could be a lot of teams that come calling for the Jets pick or picks above that to go and pop the Vikings for the pick. So it's an interesting spot. I don't know if I love the fit because I don't know what to make of Kingsbury right now. He was okay for fantasy. He wasn't great. They have playmakers. Is he better than Howe? I think it all depends on how they decide to run the offense. That's the biggest problem for me. Yeah, how do you feel about McCarthy there, though?
I'm fine with it. I think
I don't think either of us know what to make of it.
J.J. McCarthy. I think if he were to go there, I would hope that they would have a veteran in place to where he wouldn't need to be thrown out there from day one. I don't think you want to do that with him. He's just limited experience as far as throwing the football. He has not been asked to throw the football a lot during his 2.5 years as a starting quarterback. But I'm not as bearish on JJ McCarthy. I don't. He's just not a top quarterback for me. I don't know if I'd spend the top 5
You think
pick
he could
on
crap
him.
the top 6 if Bowers is 6?
God, man, I don't think so. I'll just leave it at that. I don't think
Yeah.
so. But Eric hit the nail on the head. We got over 220 in the building. Hit the like button, y'all. Hit the thumbs up button. Help us grow. Young, independent content creators trying to give y'all some dope free content every single week. Hit the damn thumbs up button, please. All right, Jay. Let's get back to the mock because we got some defensive players that I want to talk about. You've got JRich, man, he is a powerful edge rusher going to Minnesota out of Florida State. Fuaga, who's been getting pumped up all offseason of being a nasty physical offensive tackle that could potentially kick down inside the guard. And we know the Jets need all the offensive line help that they can get to protect Aaron Rodgers coming off that Achilles tear. Byron Murphy, my DT1. I just, in an alternate universe, I just pray that he falls to 24 to Dallas. I know it's not going to happen, but big disruptive inside force. This would be great for that madman on the outside, Max Crosby. And they spent a high first-round pick on Tyree Wilson a couple of years ago, or maybe that was last year, but helping to solidify that front because we know the Raiders' defense on the back end needs a little bit of help. So I like Byron Murphy here. Olu Fashanu, a lot of people saying he could be a top 10 pick. He falls to New Orleans here to help protect Derek Carr because he will be the quarterback next year, and hopefully everybody's favorite running back who did nothing last year, Kendre Miller. O-line help, that should be good for the running game, should be good for Chris Olave, more time for Derek Carr. Move down the board. Terrion Arnold, my cornerback one in this class, goes to the Indianapolis Colts. You've got the big tackle out of Washington. Going to Seattle, this one's interesting, seeing as though they had Charles Cross and Abe Lucas last year. Maybe they're thinking about kicking him inside the guard, but they had 2 quality tackles. They were just banged up in 2023. Another dream of mine to Dallas. I just want everybody to fall to Dallas. Jackson Powers Johnson, got to see him, Jay, at the Senior Bowl. He is a refrigerator with 2 walking legs. He is very wide, very physical, very mean, and is going to be a cornerstone center for whomever drafts him in the future. This one goes to Trevor Lawrence. So this is good for T-Law to get a center that's going to be able to help him and Travis Etienne in the rushing game. And now we get to fantasy footballs. If this spot were to come to fruition, Jay, I think immediately people would start to draft him. Top 5, no doubt. He's going top. I think there's a chance he can go over one of the receivers. I'll just say Rome Odunze. But you've got the Cincinnati Bengals selecting Brock Bowers out of Georgia, Jay. Brock Bowers, tight end 1 in the class. I know the funny picture of him came out with the low ankle socks, looking a little funny at the Super Bowl next to Gronk. But Brock Bowers in Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. What are you thinking about this one, Jay? How you feel about Brock Bowers to Cincinnati? I probably have a little bit of a hot take people may not like, but what do you think about, first of all, the value that Cincinnati's getting here from an NFL standpoint? Incredible to get him at 18. I thought there was 5, 6, 7 other spots he could have landed on before Cincinnati came up to the pick. But what do you think? Brock Bowers to Cincinnati for fantasy. What do you think about this one?
It's interesting, right? Because they've never really used a tight end, but they've never really had a tight end worth using, right? So you look at where Joe Burrow came from, that LSU high-flying offense, a lot of wide receivers. Going to the NFL, a lot of wide receivers, not a lot of tight ends. But this, to me, it's funny. You talk about from the fantasy angle. It's interesting because there's a lot of targets available, but in my opinion, it hinges on T. Higgins a little bit, right? How successful he's going to be and how high his ceiling can be hinges a little bit on what happens with T. Higgins. Now, I know that Scott's talking about he doesn't believe Higgins is going to be back. It seems like he's probably more likely to be gone than be back because they do have to pay a lot of people, and getting Bowers and having Chase would be phenomenal at that point. I'm with you. If you want to put him at 3, be my guess. He's probably going to see the target volume. If they draft him here, he's going to get the volume. But if Higgins is back, then you have the issue of you have Mixon, who's going to get targets because he always does, whether you like it or not. Chase getting targets, Higgins getting targets, and then somewhere in that ephes or offense, you have Bowers, at which point he's probably top 6-ish. I think this is more realistic from a landing spot perspective, though. I don't want him to go to 5 at the Chargers. I think that's way too high. Middle of the draft makes a lot more sense. I think this is a great fit for him, but how do you feel about him in Cincinnati? Because it seems like you're a little more bullish. I think the fantasy community would love it, but I think if you actually look at the offense, you may have to temper your expectations a little bit on Bowers.
I think it'd be a great fit. Like, I think the fit is great. You get another dynamic pass catcher that can change the math on the defensive side of the ball. Let's just assume Higgins is there. Jamar Chase clearly is there. You put Brock Bowers out there as that third receiving option. I think it just makes it impossible. I think this spot would be better for Joe Burrow than it would be for Brock Bowers. I think this would be a massive boost to Joe Burrow, who I've seen start to slip a little bit in some of these dynasty startups. I'm seeing a lot of Justin Herbert, QB4. You got Stroud locked into the top 2, top 3 quarterbacks. I think this would help Burrow a little more than Brock Bowers. We've just never seen Burrow really utilize the tight end. I go back to 2019, that magical season at LSU. Thaddeus Moss was an important role player on that offense. Thad Moss did play very well for LSU, but we've just never seen Burrow just hyper-target a tight end. But again, to your point, we've never seen them with a tight end like Brock Bowers. So he doesn't offer anything from a blocking standpoint. Like, he's not going to help out the run game. You're drafting him to go be a wide receiver.
You don't think so? Okay.
I know. I'm telling you right now, no.
Because everyone says, Georgia, tight end, got to be able to block. My issue with him is he's undersized.
That's why they had Darnell Washington and Oscar Delp and other people. Brock Bowers wasn't blocking anybody. That is not, that ain't what you want him out there doing. The same way that wasn't Dalton Kincaid's forte. Like, you just don't want those guys doing that type of stuff. Absolutely not. You don't want Brock Bowers out there blocking Micah Parsons off the edge. That would not end well for Joe Burrow. Latu, edge out of UCLA.
Love it.
Love this for the Rams. This is a good fit. You got to go up against the Niners, the Seahawks, the Cardinals. I mean, lasting to 19, if Latu's here, I think the Rams less need, and Sean McVay would rush to the podium to keep this kid at home. Quinyon Mitchell, big riser after his week in Mobile. A lot of people have him as QB1. He goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who spent the first-round pick last year on Joey Porter Jr., but we know their secondary, older. Pat Pete was out there. You pair up Quinyon Mitchell and Joey Porter Jr., that's a nasty combination for years to come. So I like this by Pittsburgh. Still don't know what the hell they're doing at quarterback. I saw a report. It's going to be between Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, Jay.
Imagine being divided in a front office about that.
Now we can get into your Justin Fields talk. Now, you're saying that you're seeing Fields' landing spot is here in Pittsburgh. You see that?
So that's the favorite right now.
Okay.
The favorite right now in terms of the odds, make what you want of the odds. I'm just telling you what the information is, but apparently Justin Fields, his favorite landing spot right now is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Porter was the second rounder. They picked the tackle out of Georgia last year in the first round. It was 32,
right?
Yes, so, 30. They picked the tackle out of Georgia. Yeah.
But yeah, so you talk about him in that offense with Arthur Smith, you're kind of like, so you have Pittsburgh Steelers -110, Broncos +320, Falcons 450. Falcons is actually who Sycamore had trading for Fields in this mock. So I think it's interesting, right? Because, Ray, question for you. Do you think Justin Fields would succeed more in an Arthur Smith-style offense where I think he would actually be able to do some things with him because he's had similar quarterbacks in the past, or in a Sean McVay-style offense that we've seen success from Matthew Stafford, from, Kirk Cousins, and then it's drop back, read the defense, deliver the ball.
Stop. I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna allow you to answer this question. Do you think Justin Fields can succeed like Matthew Stafford and Kirk Cousins? I'm gonna kick that question back to you. What do you think, Jordan?
I am hesitant. I'm not going to say he can't do it because I'm not here to say
that answer yourself.
I'm not here to say that he can't. Again, you are the professional here, and I am learning from you every day. But yes, it does seem like a bit of a leap to put him in that Sean McVay offense and tell him, hey, drop back and read the defense. Yeah. Because the only player that I think comps somewhat similarly is Jordan Love, doing it out in Green Bay. But he can actually play from the pocket. He, I believe, had the highest goal-to-go conversion rate in the NFL, right? Number one in the NFL goal-to-go in terms of throwing the football. So from that standpoint, right, there's a lot of things that he does well, and I think that's the only quarterback in that McVay coaching tree that can really operate an offense with some movement as well. But if you're relying on the movement, that's a different conversation. I think he'd be a great fit with the pieces around him, but in terms of how he fits into that offensive style, seems like a bold leap, but it seems like a bold leap for every quarterback in that QB room right now.
Look at Anthony said took Fields to Pittsburgh when it was plus 1,600 Friday before the Super Bowl, and now it's minus 110. Nice,
crazy,
nice value. All right, Jay, let's keep this train rolling because I love this next pick. Miami Dolphins take Tyler Guyton, the big offensive tackle monster of a young man, 6'6", 3 something, and he looked like he got the frame to put on even more. This is, protect Tua at all costs. They're saying the extension is going to get done. Protect him at all costs. I think Miami Dolphins fans would be pretty excited about Tyler Guyton. You got Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback out of Alabama, going to the Philadelphia Eagles. We know that they need secondary help in the worst way, and one of their young rookies, what's the safety name? Sidney Brown. They lost him towards the end of the season toward ACL. James Bradbury wasn't quite the same. Darius Slay was on the verge of being traded, cut at the beginning of last season. So they've got to upgrade their entire defense. But starting at cornerback with Kool-Aid McKinstry, Vic Fangio over there is the defensive coordinator. Probably can make some good things happen with Kool-Aid there. Johnny Newton to the Houston Texans, another big interior defensive tackle that's going to make life hell on opposing offensive lines. You pair him with this reigning NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, Will Anderson. You've got a nice, formidable front on that defensive line, some young building blocks, and D'Amico Ryans knows how to use those defensive players. We've got the big offensive tackle, Armias Mims from Georgia, not Oregon, going to the Dallas Cowboys. I think Tyron Smith is going to be back. I think Dallas is going to prioritize him. So I don't know. I mean, I'm fine with it. Would rather JPJ right there, maybe some other cats, but figuring out the offensive line for Dallas is a priority. So they take Mims out of Georgia for the Dallas Cowboys. Cooper DeJean, the cornerback from Iowa, goes to the Green Bay Packers. You got Graham Barton, big offensive tackle out of Duke. Think he's going to kick inside the guard. That's what everybody's saying. Going to protect Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. Nate Wiggins, long, athletic freak of a cornerback, going to the Arizona Cardinals. He and Marvin Harrison Jr., Arizona's 2 first-round picks. And then we get another offensive skill position player to the Buffalo Bills, Jay. Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver out of LSU, 6'4", 210-pound downfield threat, big play touchdown cat waiting to happen. He gets teamed up with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Dalton Kincaid because we are going to assume that Gabe Davis has probably played his last game as a Buffalo Bill. How do you think about Brian Thomas Jr. with Josh Allen in Buffalo?
I think it'd be an overrated fit, unfortunately. I think it'd be a good fit, but I think it'd be a little bit overrated. But there's a lot of things that hinge on that, right? Stephon Diggs wasn't very good this season, if we're being honest.
They're going to bring him back.
They're going to bring him back, right? And so here's my question, right? And this is where people kind of lose me a bit on Gabe Davis being gone. What does he really cost you to bring back? $10 million a year, if that, right? At that point, you almost might as well bring him back. That way you can solidify something else. They lost a ton of players on defense last year, and they still had a great season. Yes, I believe, and I've talked about it all year, Josh Allen needs help badly, but I don't think he needs a downfield threat. I think you can bring back Gabe Davis cheap, and if they wanted to go with a Ladd McConkey or a guy who can play a bit more inside with Dalton Kincaid, I think that'd be a much better fit for Josh Allen and the offense. So while I like Brian Thomas, I believe that him being this wide receiver slot off the board makes sense. I don't know if they need a downfield threat, and addressing that spot in the draft here makes a ton of sense. I think, you look at even Darius Robinson to solidify that defensive line even more so going into this season would be great for them, especially with the quarterbacks that they play. But Brian Thomas, great receiver. Think of a bit of an overrated fit with Josh Allen. I think they should bring Gabe Davis back, and they should figure things out on offense instead of
they got Khalil Shakir. They got Khalil Shakir who came on late.
I like Khalil Shakir, right? He's good.
I think Gabe's gone. You got to replace the downfield threat. And that's what Brian Thomas Jr. can do out the box. Like, he can get down the field and win vertically, good hands, massive target. It's literally a 1-for-1 Gabe Davis replacement, and I think BTJ is a little better than Gabe Davis. I think it's a 1-for-1 seamless fit. You can just throw him in that offense. You've got your slot, your 2 slots. You've got your power slot in Dalton Kincaid. You've got your slot in Shakir, and you got Diggs at the X.
So what do you do for fantasy, though? Because this is going to push him to what? Maybe even ahead of Rome Odunze, right?
You draft Josh Allen 101 in Superflex formats. That's what you do. It just solidifies Josh Allen being the top dog. And then in best ball, you want shots, you want little bites at all these apples. You want some Diggs, you want some Shakir late, you want some Kincaid, and you want to get some Gabe Davis, some Brian Thomas. I think that's what it is. Like, what is his individual ceiling? I think it's limited. There's no doubt. You've got Kincaid, and we saw him coming on late. And we're not even talking about James Cook and the opportunity that he commands out of the backfield
and we
along
don't really
with Josh Allen.
that role in Buffalo. Like it's not
good,
a very good role for fantasy.
It was fine. It was fine for Gabe Davis. It was fine. You had moments in time where Gabe Davis you knew what you were getting with Gabe. He was either going to go 4 for 150 and 2, or he's going 0 for 0 for 0. There was no in between. You knew what you were getting from Gabe. But I think Brian Thomas Jr. is a better player than Gabe Davis. So you put him in that role, better player. I think it would be fine. You got a nice wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 with some upside on your team. I'm trying to be realistic here. He's not going to be a 2, but a top 36, top 48
Gabe
receiver.
Davis, 45, 750, 7 touchdowns. Pretty good. I think Brian Thomas can do that, right? Would we expect more, though?
That's what I mean.
Maybe not.
I think you can expect
more. He can do that. He can do that.
Darius Robinson, edge out of Missouri, big-time riser after the Senior Bowl.
Good,
Jim Nagy pumping him up as well, going to the Detroit Lions, opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. They got to get some pressure. This would be a nice pick for Detroit. Then we get to pick 30. Jay, you ready for this one? The Minnesota Vikings just kept trading back, and they select quarterback Bo Nix out of Oregon. So the Vikings got this pick right here. The Ravens traded out. The Ravens get the 42nd overall pick in the second round and a 25 third rounder. So they just kicked back a few spots, said you can take this first rounder, give us your second rounder. Bo Nix to Minnesota does what for you, JRich? Because the conversation is, he's pro ready. He can get out there as an experienced quarterback, a lot of starts, played in the SEC, dominated in the Pac-12. You'll see the naysayers say, well, he doesn't throw over the middle of the field. 70% of his production came off of screen plays. He does not know how to read defenses. But if you're Minnesota, what else do? You got Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Spencer Rattler, probably the next 3 quarterbacks off of the board. How would you feel about Minnesota jumping back up, selecting Bo Nix at the back of the first round?
I think it's interesting, right? Because we talked about Justin Fields. How would he operate in that Sean McVay, Ken O'Connell style of offense? And I think that Bo Nix can do similar things. Again, he's more of a one-read quarterback to this point. And what we kind of project in the NFL. He can develop, obviously, but what we saw in college was when he was asked to really go back there and pass like he was at Auburn, when he wasn't running the ball and on obvious passing situations, he struggled. But when he was able to, throw quick passes, keep it, within 10 yards, he was great. And I think the good thing about O'Connell is they have the playmakers to scheme that up. They have Hawkinson, they have Addison, they have Jefferson if he chooses to stay there. Because there is some reports that maybe Jefferson may want out, depending on what they do at quarterback.
I'm starting to see some steam with old Jets, not saying he's all the way committed to Minnesota.
He wants to know who they get at quarterback, and that's where
I get it.
I can't blame him, man. He is on the trajectory of history. And when you are on the trajectory of history, you need to look out for yourself, especially when you are the number 1 player for your team. It means everything to that Minnesota Vikings franchise. I don't know if Bo Nix moves the needle for any of the playmakers. I think, when you look at it from this perspective, it could make them more balanced as an offense if they can find the running backs to really make that happen. Is kind of a question for me, but Bo Nix, I think, can work in the offense. I don't know if he thrives in the offense, but they have the playmakers that he can be usable for fantasy. And I think that's what makes it interesting when you talk about Nix in Minnesota. It's a great fit for any quarterback. The question is, which quarterback? And I think in some ways, Penix could be a better quarterback for this offense than Bo Nix could be.
Shout out to Todd Eclair, one of our content creators over at Destination Dev. He does a great job every week analyzing fantasy football trades, up-and-comer in the space. He asked the question, Jay, trade up, grab Bo Nix too. If a team trades up for one of these quarterbacks, does that change your feel for them for fantasy? So if you're watching this play out live in April and the Vikings have already picked at 11 and they trade back up and they grab Bo Nix, they grab Michael Penix, whomever that quarterback is, does that change the way that you personally feel about him, knowing, man, I've got to get this guy. I don't care about the second rounder. I'll give up future capital. I want Bo Nix, and I want to make sure that we secure him in the first round. Does that change how you feel?
Unfortunately, not in this instance, right? In this mock draft, what happened was the Commanders hopped the Vikings.
In real
JJ
life,
McCarthy,
if it
right?
happens. If they do it in real life.
If it happened in real life, the way this played out, I wouldn't feel indifferently about it. This, to me, screams of desperation, not necessarily the best quarterback available. When you're choosing between Bo Nix and Michael Penix, I think offense matters 100%, but I don't know if you're wrong for going one or the other. And if you want to take the last one left, I'm all for it. But if you're trading up into the first to get Bo Nix, I just don't know how I feel. I don't know if that for me moves the needle. Do you feel any differently?
I mean, good grief. You said it reeks of desperation. That hurts. What's up, D-Bro?
But we know they're desperate, right?
D-Bro in the building, GP. What's up, D-Bro? How you doing, baby? D-Bro doing great work over Fantasy Pros. People try to pit me and D-Bro against each other this week, man. We'd already talked about D-Bro's QB rankings. Me and him we had a full-fledged comp conversation like days before. I know where D-Bro's got J.J. McCarthy, and I respect the hell out of Derek Brown and the work that he does. Does this change?
Shout out to him and Thor, right? New draft stream.
They got a new show.
Pros, man.
Yeah. Good stuff. Bo Nix, does it? Oh God, not really. I mean, a little bit, Jay. Here's what it does. What it does is this: it solidifies the fact that he's going to get some level of opportunity at an extended look.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's what it changes. Kenny Pickett's had 2 years and might get a half of a year right now, regardless of what you think about him. If Minnesota trades up for Nix, what I can guarantee you, regardless of how you feel about him as the player or the prospect, he will have opportunity. And there's going to be a window to move him at some point in time. So, yeah, it changes it a little bit for me, Jay. We got to pick it up, man. We got to get through a second round. Jordan Morgan, the tackle out of Arizona, goes to San Francisco. And then, Jay, are you ready for this one, man? The Kansas City Chiefs select the wide receiver, but it's the one that people don't want. Keon Coleman out of Florida State, Jay.
I don't like the fit. Of all the receivers, I just don't like the fit. Again, it's not that I don't like Coleman, but if you put him on Carolina, I like it a lot more than like
fit either.
They don't need a Keon Coleman, in my opinion. They need a guy that can really stretch the field.
Yes.
And so a Brian Thomas, a Troy Franklin, Xavier Worthy, like they're all available here. So that's where I don't like it is what it is.
Either.
If they want a possession guy, okay, cool. He can play the X, but that's like, okay, why are we drafting Keon Coleman when we can go sign Mike Evans potentially, right? Like, Mike Evans is going to be better than Coleman and can do the same thing. So if you're going to draft a player, draft a guy that you don't have, or draft a player that you want to get rid of in Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Mr. Clutch down the stretch in the playoffs. But it just seems like an awkward fit from what they do and what they're going to need down the line. I think they need a field stretcher, and I think that guy would be, as you mentioned, X-worthy, Troy Franklin, if Thomas was there or they traded up for him for some reason.
Would be a good fit. I think Coleman Troy would be a really good fit. I don't like Coleman. I don't like Coleman there. It feels like
there's better fits.
It feels like Rashee Rice, but maybe not. Maybe they're the same play. It just doesn't feel like the right fit. So I'm in agreement with receiver, but I really don't like Keon Coleman here. But let's move down to the second round, Jay, and talk about it. Look at that. Right off the board at the top of the second, the Carolina Panthers select Troy Franklin. The Las Vegas Raiders trade up to select Michael Penix. We got Adonai Mitchell to the Jets at 39. Jalen Polk, 40th overall. I've been pumping up Jalen Polk going to the Jets. So let's just talk about those fantasy relevant players there. You got Franklin in Carolina, Nix to the Raiders, A.D. Mitchell to the Giants, and Jalen Polk to the Jets. What do you like? What do you hate?
Okay, so as I mentioned, I think that Franklin, another raw, unproven receiver, go put him in Carolina. That sounds like a great idea. But under Canales, we'll see what he can do. Would love you just swap those two players. Swap Coleman, swap Franklin. I think they're in much better offenses for their skill sets. You want to talk about A.D. Mitchell on the Giants? How does that impact Jalen Hyatt? I don't know. Probably better than Jalen Hyatt, so I'd be curious how that fits. I love Polk on the Jets, giving A-Rod another weapon that he desperately needs. Doesn't have to be the one. Garrett Wilson is there. And then Penix to Vegas is interesting. Don't love it, don't hate it. I think the underrated thing about Vegas is they do have a lot of playmakers, so it's not a terrible spot for a quarterback. If it was in the second round, again, how does that offensive line hold up for Penix? Because he can't really run that well is a big question, but how do you feel about these four guys?
I'm with you. I think Polk to the Jets, because that's where I view Polk as being a team's wide receiver 2 in the NFL. I don't view him as a 1, but he's a very good 2. He played that role very well in Washington, and the Jets need it. They have nobody. Legitimately, outside of Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, they have nobody. You know, who's better than us? Nobody. They got nobody. out there. So get Jalen Polk. I like that fit. Adonai Mitchell to the Giants. Here's what I'll say. I like the fact that the Giants went J.C. Latham and then they went receiver. They knew receivers an area that they needed to address, but instead of spending the 6th overall pick on a receiver, there's a lot of them in this class. Get one at 39. I think this was a good Giants draft move. Penix to the Raiders. God, I guess. And then Franklin to Carolina. If Bryce Young couldn't get the damn ball down the field to DJ Chark, then what the hell is going to happen with Troy Franklin? I don't really like.
They need a polished playmate, a polished route runner, a polished player who's ready. It just that fit is very.
Let's go down the board a little bit more. We've got Jatavion Sanders. Jay, hold on. I got a new sounder. Where's it? Where's it at, man? Here it is, Jay. Here it is right
Lord
here.
Have mercy,
Let's go. Let's go, Jatavion Sanders.
What was that?
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
JT Sanders to the Colts, baby. What? Let's go. I love it, JRich. Been bumping him up. I think he's going
to. What the hell was that? Where did you even get that?
You haven't seen that before?
Who approved this?
I approved it. I approve all sounders on the show, but JT Sanders to the Colts. Let's get it, baby. Let's get it. I love the fit with Anthony Richardson. Who else do we have in here? Roman Wilson to the Cleveland Browns. Jonathan Brooks, Jay. You can't see it yet. Let me pull it up on the screen. Jonathan Brooks, the first RB off the board, 57 to the Green Bay Packers.
Talk to me, Ray. This is your guy. I've never watched Jonathan Brooks in my entire life, but man, he's getting pumped up. Is he better than Bijan Robinson? Because people are comparing the numbers. I see Scott Barrett putting out tweets of the numbers.
I know.
Is he better than Keontae Ingram, though? Keontae Ingram was a player that we really liked last year.
He's better than Keontae Ingram. He's better than Roschon Johnson. He is not Bijan Robinson, but he's got the three. In a world in which 3-down running backs don't exist, he fits the mold of it. He's a very, very good pass catcher. Hands are solid, patient runner between the tackles. I talked about it yesterday on the video that I dropped going through Underdog's ADP. He's coming off the board as RB 39 right now in the big board drafts. He plays like Breece Hall. He reminds me his running style, the way, because Breece was a patient runner. It never looks like he's just moving very fast, but he's getting somewhere really quickly. He's not as big as Breece Hall, but when you watch them move and manipulate the backfield, they look very similar. He's the real deal. Ladd McConkey to the Jaguars. Jay, is this what T-Law? Is this what T-Law needs, baby? Is this what Trevor needs? He needs the white slot receiver. Damn it, we got it, man. Ladd McConkey. And right now, all over Twitter, people are like, it's lazy to comp him the Cup. He gave us permission, so I'm going to keep calling him Cooper Kupp. Now the heels are dug in. He said that's who he models his game after, along with Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, and every other Hall of Fame type wide receiver. But you put him in Jacksonville with their investment of Jackson Powers Johnson in the first round, the Colts with JT, like this day 2 of the NFL draft, Jay, is going to be glorious. Give me all the players on day 2. You go down the board and listen, I understand, Jay. I understand the drops and yada, 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 but Tez Walker to Houston with CJ Stroud?
I like it, man. I like it a lot. I like it a lot, man.
I like it a lot, too, baby.
It's a good fit.
Like it. It's a great, he's a better
send
Noah
Nico
Brown.
Collins to the moon. Send him somewhere else.
Stop. This is, no.
Love Tez, though.
Nico solidified. You replace Noah Brown or Robert Woods with Tez Walker. Love this fit. Who else did we not talk about? We got McConkey, Roman Wilson of Cleveland. Let's talk, because that right now, Roman Wilson's my wide receiver 5 in the class. I'm just letting y'all know right now. He's my wide receiver 5. He is wide receiver 5.
Okay, talk about a riser.
I feel good. I feel good about it. I don't feel good about Cleveland. I don't know how to feel about Cleveland. I don't know.
It's very easy, right? We don't like it. We don't know what's going on. We don't know if their quarterback is any good. There's a lot of players there on top of it.
I know.
So if you're Roman Wilson, okay, you can be the wide receiver 2 there. Not a great role historically. Njoku probably going to be even more involved this season. Nick Chubb probably still going to run the heck out of the ball when he's back. And we have no confidence in Deshaun Watson. So again, I love Roman Wilson, don't love the fit. Much prefer Tez Walker where he's going. And then we didn't really touch on Jonathan Brooks that much, but he would be probably the RB1 for the Packers, where they do historically run the ball a lot.
Jay, here's the thing with Brooks. As much as I like him, he's probably like a red shirt year. He can work in tandem. He's probably a red shirt year. So I know you haven't watched him. You haven't fought. He tore his ACL, I believe, the end of October.
That's not bad, though. He'd be back for June, July. He'd miss rookie OTAs and rookie minicamp.
I don't. And even if he's back, he's going to be better next year than he is at any point this year, in my opinion. 1 year removed. Does he start the season off on the pup, miss the first 6 games?
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know the timeline for ACL tears, but I believe he tore it
9 months
end of
usually.
October. I think he tore it the end of October, man. I don't know. He's not going to be the RB1. He would not be the RB1.
But it'd be in tandem, right? They always run tandems in Green Bay.
He'd be the heir apparent to Aaron Jones, because A.J. Dillon's probably on his way out the door. Man, Brooks, Jordan Love, and those young receivers.
That's what I'm saying. It's
nice.
Good. Again, year 1. But I think, Ray, so the question for me to you is, would this stop you from drafting him potentially, knowing that he may be on the pup for the first 6 games today?
Well, he's coming off the board. He's coming off the board in like the second, like the middle of the second. So at that point, I'm fine with it. Especially if he hit a spot like that, I think I'm good with it, man. I think I'm good with it.
I'm with you. I think if he's the first running back drafted and he goes to a spot that I think is great for running backs, I don't know if there's a better fit, but we'll see when the draft ultimately unfolds. But I would him probably early to mid second.
Come on, Anthony.
Oh God.
Come on, Anthony. Come on, man. He said Watson might rub Wilson the wrong way. Come on, man. Come on, man. Jay, we got a super chat in the building. Danny too good here. Let's go. Something, man. Let's get something good up here. Let's get something good. Let's go. Ray and JRich in the mother effing house. Yes, sir, Danny. Appreciate you. One of our loyal patrons over on Destination Devy, patreon.com/allgas. Danny is diving deep in the Dynasty Leagues. Jay, let's holler at a couple of chats before we get out of here. Let's see what we have in the building. What'd you think about the mock overall, Jay? Well, I'm looking for some stuff. What do you think about the mock overall? I thought it was a good mock.
I liked it a lot. The only player that I think that we didn't really touch on much was Ladd McConkey.
Yeah,
right?
Okay. Talk about Ladd.
And the only reason I want to talk about him a little bit is because Debro was saying that he thinks that Christian Kirk would like if Ladd was there and he would stretch the field a bit more. But I think the problem is that good for Christian Kirk to be back on the outside and being that downfield threat? That's the biggest question, is that was it Cliff and that Arizona offense, or was it Christian Kirk who couldn't really succeed down the field? Because when you put him in the slot, he was cooking. And if you kick him back outside, maybe we still prefer Ladd McConkey to be that safety valve for Trevor Lawrence over a Christian Kirk. But to Derek's point, the air yards would be there, the ADOT would go up, and that could potentially be good if the efficiency is still similar, if not reduced a little bit. But I would like Ladd a lot in Jacksonville.
What do you think about this tier? Bussin' or bust at Tier Swap Fantasy Football from Ty DeClaire. What else do we have? Aaron Jones, 1 more year. New segment, bust or buck. Jay, I love the family.
Bust.
You get it? Yeah, you get it. I love the family, man. I thought it was a good mock. I think if this were to play out, I think we would definitely have some shakeup at the top of the draft. I think the Tez 100%. Walker to Houston spot, for all the bad that he did,
skyrocket him,
I mean, it would pump him up. Fantasy community tells me drops do not matter, so it doesn't matter how many. And Tez is a big dude, man. We saw him in person. He's got a lot of size to him.
He can get down the field.
He can get down the field.
You want to talk about Gabe Davis replacements? Tez Walker.
Good job, Sycamore. Good job.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Good job. Appreciate everybody being in the damn building. Make sure you tap into everything that we are doing over on the channel. Damian Parson in the building. We're going to do some stuff with DP. We're going to get DP on the show during this draft cycle, talk through some prospects. I broke down his mock draft that he dropped on Super Bowl on the channel. Go check that out. Anthony said, yeah, mock looked good. Debro in the building, everything that he's doing. Patrick Price, what's up, Patrick? Quality stuff. Make sure you get over there. Check out all the stuff that we're doing. Jay, you got anything to say to people before I close this out?
No, man, we're good. Just everyone have a good week. And remember, next week, we got to do some Combine prep, Ray. So there's a couple big shows, big pieces probably coming to the channel because the Combine is catching up on us.
Yeah, man, I got to play my music. This is the outro vibes right here. We appreciate everybody being in the building. Enjoy your Monday. Appreciate y'all tapping into the show. And we will see y'all next Monday. A lot of content coming out on the channel. We love y'all. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out of the building. Have a great Monday. We out. Peace.